Rated M for mature.
Don't let your kids watch it!
Hey there, Artie!
It's sunset. Still waiting for you to say something. All I had to do was stare out the window and enjoy the scenery until Uisi gave up. We literally waited until sunset, and he's just like... Uisi's just smoking like 8 cigarettes and over. I was just like, I can stand the awkward silence as well as you can. It's like, I don't think that's true, Uisi. I don't mind silence at all.
あなたって人は本当に隠し事が下手な人ですね。
And you're really bad at driving, but you don't hear me complaining.
そういう素直で初々しいの悪くないな。
Uisi smirked as he twisted out his third cigarette, while I tried not to let him notice that I had yielded completely. At first, I thought I'd won, but at the very least, Uisi had ascertained that I was hiding something. The opposite of Keiichi. Yeah, Keiichi's the worst at keeping his mouth shut. Meaning that I might have ended up marching to his tune. Uisi started up the engine once again and began to move the car.
素直なところを教えてくれりゃもっとお力になれると思ったんですがね。
素直に話したらどう力になれるんです？
If the cat was out of the bag, I might as well use it to catch some mice.
内容によりけりですがね。南沢界隈に詳しい情報屋に引き合わせてあげてもいいですよ。
協力員
Is
ですか？
Is it Satoko's parents?
そっか。
That would be
あ
interesting.
んたらはそう呼ぶんでしたね。
Is it Rika's dad?
どうして私の任務に興味を？
Is it Mr. Noodle?
大石さん。
そりゃあんたと同じです。常に知るのが私たちの仕事じゃありま
It's
せん。
your business to keep the peace. Being able to meet with Uisi's informant was an extremely compelling opportunity. We were looking to recruit somebody familiar with the area to collaborate with our intelligence. In the end, there was no better method for finding people than asking. We were always taught, however, that the rank-and-file police were no better than monkeys. Unlike us, they were careless with confidential cases. We looked down on them because like they'd run their mouth off in a drunken stupor. Uisi was an outlaw even amongst them, and here I was lost on whether or not I should tell him about the kidnapping of the ministry's grandson. If you do that, there might be repercussions, yo!
その情報協力員はどの程度鬼ヶ淵自主同盟に精通を？
あんたも公安の人間ならわかるでしょう。そんなの私の口からたとえあなたにだって話せるわけないじゃありませんか。
What if I gave you 220s? Protect your sources. That was the first principle of dealing with confidential information. In that regard, it seemed that Uisi wasn't one of those monkeys. Should I trust him and ask for his help or not? I sense a choice coming on. Which means we are making a save.
あなたは国、私は金に雇われてますがね。私たちの職務はそう大きくは違わないと思っています。力になれると思うんですがね。
However, I had trouble believing that this crafty old man would simply help me just like he claimed. Now, how should I go about this?
大石さんほどの方が無償で力になってくださるとはちょっと思い難いですが。
Oh, the Animal Crossing music's bad.
そりゃ下心がないわけ
Whoa,
じゃない。
stop! I made a bet with, what's his name, that I could get information out of you. I gotta get them $10.
あんたらは確
I told you
か
the pay sucks.
協力員に支払える謝礼用の予算を持って
Huh.
領収書不要な予算を。そいつでですね。情報屋
This
との
guy
接
is
触
such a
にかかるコス
sleazebag.
ト
No, I don't like Uisi anymore. Maybe you could give me a little bit of the money.
つまり情報屋と渡りをつける謝礼をあなたにお支払いしろということです。
I am not doing. If they give me a choice whether to do this, I am not doing this. I'm the goody two shoes.
取引内容が明快で助かります。
He certainly was something else for being able to brazenly state his ulterior motive like this. Money. Rather than him doing this out of the kindness of his heart, everything was a lot clearer if he was being compensated for this deal. I thought that he was the type of man who was good at these backroom dealings.
誤解しないでくださいよ。お金が必要なのは私にじゃなくて情報屋になんです、ね。
Look, little Judy needs a Christmas this year, alright?
まあ支払いの関係上お金は私が預かりますよね。
That's not suspicious at all.
支払いはいつ？
今すぐがいいですね。
Jeez, what a sleaze!
ないなら明日でもいいんですよ。
I would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. I pulled out a wallet that was different from my personal one. Was it even going to give me the choice? The price was pretty much fixed depending on what kind of information I was paying for. In this case, the payment was up front. Also, considering the fact that I didn't know what kind of info I would get, I shouldn't pay too much. When I suggested that, Uisi suddenly stretched out his hand and tightly grasped the contents of the wallet. It's not even giving me the change. She was like, I'll just take it all.
こういう時はですね、ケチケチしない方がいいんです。
This is so corrupt.
大丈夫大丈夫。損はさせませんから。
わかりました。
Wow, that's not one of the choices they're giving you. It's like, we're not giving you the choice whether to play corrupt cop and pay the guy money that who knows what it'll be used for. Now we just assume everyone would want to do that. We're saving the choices for whether you want to do one really bad thing or a second really bad thing.
ケチケチしないことにします。
で、調べたい情報は何です？内容によって多少アプローチが変わることもありますので。
他言無用を誓ってもらえますか、大石さん。
誓うまでもありませんよ。
That's cap. You swear a lot.
私もあなたたちと同じ。職務上知り得たことは他言できませんからね。
You're going down a bad path, Akasaka.
わかりましたよ。誓います。ここで聞くことは他言無用です。それに。あなたのおかげで溜まってたツケを全部返せる。
He's not even pretending to be legit.
私は少なくとも金の絡んだ約束は絶対に違いませんよ。
This is so bad. I was still unsure if I should trust him until the very last moment, but in the end I broke down. Uisi wasn't the type of guy I could trust 100%, but there was no mistaking he had access to underground information networks. In order to accomplish my mission swiftly, I needed his cooperation. Oh, bruh, you're not getting back to your wife in time for the birth. Like, it's not happening. I set my resolve.
鬼ヶ淵主導名がある事件に関与しているか否かを調査しています。
ある事件？
犬飼建設大臣が何者かに脅迫を受けている可能性があります。
可能性とはまた遠回しな言い方ですね。
大臣の近辺に内通者がいるらしいのです。その内通者によって高度に監視されているらしく、大臣は脅迫初期から屈服している様子です。警察へも我々へも。
Guess he didn't outright say what had happened, but like he said what happened.
なるほど。だから脅迫を受けている可能性という言い方になると。
Once a sneaky crook, always a sneaky crook, TX.
だとすると妙ですね。大臣が誰にも通報しないなら。どうしてあんたらは事件を知ったんです？
If we didn't spy on the minister's private life, we would never have found out.
その説明は私が情報屋に提供する必要がないと思われるので割愛します。
Uisi had apparently caught on and quietly chuckled when I refused to explain.
なるほど。大臣の近辺にスパイがいるらしいから公安だけの極秘調査ということになったわけですか。
Akasaka's getting canned by the end of this, or he's dying.Probably dying.
そりゃ確かに穏便な話じゃないですね。
ことを公にすれば、大臣の政治生命も含め、政変に発展する可能性は極めて高いでしょう。犯人グループの目的がそこにあるならば、有識事態に発展する可能性があります。
政府の列島改造は、まあいろいろ方々との衝突も多いらしいですからね。どんなささやかなケチでも一つつけば。野党勢力がドット票を伸ばす可能性もあると。
大臣がどのような要求を受けているのかは現在調査中です。ですが脅迫の方法だけはほぼ分かっています。
何です？
大臣の孫の
Never mind, he just outright said it.
周辺は否定していますが、最後の目撃から見てすでに誘拐後72時間が経過していると言われます。
This is so gonna come back to bite us, no question.
3日ですか。波の身代金目的ならもう決着してますね。
I know.
金銭でなく大臣に何らかの政治的なアクションを要求している可能性が極めて高いでしょう。
They wanted to do the binky dance at the next presidential debate.
それを我々は黙認するわけにはいきません。
で、それの犯人グループとの可能性として鬼ヶ淵死守同盟がリストに上がったわけですね。
そうです。
大臣の孫を誘拐してダム計画の撤回を求めるか。
I know. He was kidnapped by the legendary and very dangerous Kid Napper.
どうでしょう、大石さん。
It's like Kid Rock, but a lot nastier.
その可能性はあなたから見てあり得ると思いますか？
Uisi seemed to ponder the idea for a while. The section chief at the regional office had responded immediately with, "It's possible." However, Uisi, who was this well informed about the matter, was hemming and hawing. Finally, just a little bit, he said something that was really just a little bit strange.
明治前まではですね、この辺りはひなみ沢村って名前じゃなくて鬼ヶ淵村って呼ばれてたそうです。うちのばあ様の受け売りですがね。
Very nice. Let's get a new psalm in here. Ooh, yeah. This topic was so completely and suddenly unrelated to the subject of the kidnapping of the minister's grandson that I was taken slightly aback.
鬼ヶ淵村。あ、それで鬼ヶ淵主導名という名称になったわけですね。
鬼ヶ淵村ってのはですね、人食い鬼の住む村だと言われてたんだそうです。今でも村人は自分の体に鬼の血が半分流れてると信じてます。
人食い鬼。
Yeah,
大石さん、
I don't believe it.
それ何の話ですか？
情報ですよ。さっきあなたからたくさんもらっちゃいましたからね。少しもらいすぎました。
Yeah, you did tell him too much.
その分サービスしてあげてるんですよ。
Uisi finally smiled, but it didn't seem like he was fooling around.
先を続けてください。
人食い鬼たちはですね、普段は仙人と崇められてひっそりと暮らしているんですがね、やっぱり人食いですから定期的に麓の村に降りてきては獲物をさらっていったんだそうです。それをですね、鬼隠しと言いまして。
Demoned away. It was the first time I had heard such a peculiar phrase. However, I felt something slightly ominous from this horrifying tale. I didn't do that. Horrifying tale of demons abducting people in order to eat them. Probably because it's a creepy story.
ほら、よく世間一般に神隠しっていうのがあるじゃないですか。人がある日突然失踪してしまうとそう言うでしょ。この辺りでは同じことがあると鬼隠しって呼ぶんです。
その昔話と本件に何か？
いえいえ、直接的には何の関係もない。ただのおしゃべりですがね。
I'm just talking about,
Tada.
weird stuff. It's a hobby of mine. Ka-thump, ka-thump. The car shook. At some point, the gravel road had changed to a paved one.
ただ、何です？
Can I take the stupid mask off?
この土地に鬼隠しという名の失踪、誘拐を暗示するキーワードがある。ということだけはお話ししておこうと思いまして。今回の大臣の孫の誘拐と関係あるかは分かりませんがね。まあ深い話ではないんです。
Luis is gonna blab about this to everyone at the police station. Someone's gonna post it on their YouTube feed.
そんな言われの
Hagusai's
話
gonna
が
be
あ
in
る
big duty.
ということだけでもね。
You broke the boundary of confidentiality, but Luis said he wouldn't. And he said that he needed the money from his Mushon debts. Onikakushi, human-eating demons coming down to the foothills and abducting their prey. Then, in order to cancel the dam project that threatened to submerge the village they lived in, did they demon away the minister's grandson? Then, had they already made an example out of the minister's grandson and eaten him alive? I don't think so.
ちょっと興味深い昔話ですね。
鬼たちの村にみだりに踏み入ればたちまち囚われ食い殺される。だから鬼ヶ淵村には近づくな。今時の若者はこんな迷信信じませんがね。沖宮の明治生まれの年寄り連中には今でも真面目に信じてるのが多いですよ。
Hinamizawa village was feared by the people in the area. I recalled that piece of information I heard from the Prefectural Public Safety Division. Why the heck did Keiichi's family move there?
何しろこの辺は田舎ですからね。迷信なんかが平気で幅を利かせてるんです。 東京から来られた赤坂さんにはちょっと想像もつかないでしょうがね。
The man-eating demons, as the price for violating the sanctity of their village, kidnapped the minister's grandson and swallowed him whole. That ludicrous idea flew through my head. It was so absurd, I was half disgusted with myself. At least he was just teasing me. Stupid. It was all really so stupid. Come to think of it, by then I may have already been seized by the curse of that dubious village. For me to realize that would take a little more time. Oh, is he gonna turn into Keiichi from the first chapter? Where he's just super paranoid, like, the village has marked me for death! Ah! New tips unlocked! Phone call with Yuki. Record of opening remarks. Gears of fire and taste of honey. I couldn't read the last one in time. Land of the demons. Traveled to Hinamizawa. Oh look! That's Akasaka wearing the mask and the sunglasses. That didn't look suspicious at all. Let's view the new tips. This is an interesting tips music. Phone call with Yuki. She's gonna be, hey!
そうですか。
Jack Butt, you
急
missed
な
the
出
birth.
張は大変ですね。
Yep.
どうぞお気をつけて。出張はどちらへですか？もう出張先なんですか？
Whenever I headed out on assignment, she would ask where. Not just Yuki, but anybody would have asked the same question. If it was a cold place, she would urge me to pack a thick jacket. If it was far, she'd warn me to be careful on the drive over. It was just the normal everyday concern that led to asking such an obvious thing. I felt sad that I couldn't answer such a run-of-the-mill question.
ごめんなさい。言ってはいけない規則でしたね。どうかお気をつけて。
すまん、ユキ。
あなたはいつの頃からすぐに謝られるようになったんでしょう。今のお仕事に疲れた最初はあれだけはつらつと充実していらっしゃったのに。
Yuki laughed as though she had realized something. At times like this, Yuki had the magical power to see right through me.
私が入院してもう随分になりますものね。あなたもそろそろ。
There's no way she's in labor right now. She would not be having this calm of a conversation with like that.
からかうなよ。寂しがるような年じゃないさ。
さてさていかがでしょう。あなたは本当に甘えん坊さんですからね。私と一緒でないと。
No one's voice is this calm and gentle when they're in labor. Nobody's giggling like that when they're in labor.
ああ、もう。今、ユキエの頭に小悪魔の角がにょっきりと生えているのが目に浮かぶよ。君は昔から。
はぐらかさないはぐらかさない。私に構ってもらえなくて寂しい寂しいって。あなたが尻尾を振っている音が受話器を通しても聞こえてきますよ。
This side of Yuki wasn't something you could have guessed from seeing her usual modest behavior, and it was something she didn't like to show off to anybody else but me. Normally I'd poke her to hide my embarrassment and bring an end to the conversation, but I couldn't do that over the phone. Of course, Yuki was clever. She was teasing me because of that.
あなたを困らせるのがこんなに楽しいと気づいたのはいつからだったでしょうね。
そろそろ許してくれよ。とにかく君の元気な声が聞けてよかった。
そうでしょう。元気になれましたか？
I had called Yuki to keep her from feeling lonely when she was by herself in the hospital room. Of course, that was nothing more than a pretense that I, being shy, had come up with. It seemed that Yuki had long since seen through that act.
また電話をしてくださいな。私がダメな時はお父さんが相手をしてくれるでしょう。もっともお父さんが相手ではあなたのことだから電話先でも直立不動で喋っていそう。
He seemed like a respectable man. For a while longer, Yuki kept teasing me without letting me end the call. That was very plot important. We needed that. Record of opening remarks. This is going to be when Uisi, like, very efficiently and meticulously documented all of the confidential information that we gave him. Chairman Redacted. Members of the Redacted Party. Congratulations are due as we are celebrating 25 years since our founding. These past 25 years have seen so much growth in Redacted Prefecture. The once quiet scenery of nothing but fields Now we've seen the opening of a new stop for the bullet train. And with the development of the highway, we've seen the rebirth of a modern city bursting with youthful energy. We've reaped the benefits of new businesses and industry. And with the special reverence for the residents of Redacted Prefecture have the time-honored traditions, history and culture, business and industry, with these ideals in harmony, they have accomplished in growing their city into one of Japan's foremost metropolises. Of course, the development of the Redacted Prefecture couldn't have happened without the growth of the Redacted Party. We are resolved to see every one of our campaign promises to fruition, reaching our targets definitively and expediently like arrows fired from a bow. With these arrows as fundamental bases of the Redacted Party, our members have sought to pierce the obstructions preventing the happiness of the residents of the Redacted Prefecture. But I do believe that everyone here is unlike an ordinary arrow. While being as unfaltering and straightforward, we have not neglected in seeking solutions that conform to the current day and age while also keeping an eye on the future. An arrow, once loosed, can only fly to its destination. Everyone here, however, is no simple arrow. Even once loosed from the bow, without neglecting our studies, while employing new methods, and implementing more effective and flexible ideas, thus being able to change trajectories mid-flight, we are magical arrows. The modern age marches ever forward. Sometimes it marches faster than the time taken from planning to execution. Stupid sneezes. The following part was not in the script. It is thought to have been ad-libbed by the minister. For example, there have been recently numerous problems with the Hinamizawa power plant project. Rather than forcing through the project solely because it was decided upon by the government, it is necessary to reflect on and adjust to the ever-changing needs of the residents, the region, and the next generation. The protests by the local residents that surround the Hinamizawa Dam. These are also the will of the people of Redacted Prefecture. If you feel that there is no need to listen because the project has already been finalized, then you do nothing more than shed a poor light on Japan's post-war democracy. The following is as per the script. For the lasting happiness of the citizens of Japan and the residents of the Redacted Prefecture, please consider these policies thoroughly. I believe, however, we have all gained something from the flexibility and foresight of the Redacted Party. I've taken up much of your time. However, allow me to say the following to celebrate the 25th anniversary of our founding. Chairman Redacted, members of the Redacted Party in attendance, thank you very much for today. From the opening remarks of the Redacted Party Prefectural Forum and 25th anniversary celebration. Okay, so that's the minister being like, we need to stop the dam, maybe. Okay. Gears of fire and the taste of honey. Why is there a bloodstain? That doesn't look like honey. What do we got? Ooh. Interesting music. The world is filled with people blessed with relationships. I know. Of course, that doesn't mean that everyone is connected to each other. It's obvious that on the other side of the planet, there are people laughing and crying who can't possibly have an effect on you. However, in the extremely limited community of the neighborhood, that sort of connection is just a matter of fact. It's quite possible that a single remarkable event could have massive consequences inside a small community. If you were to increase that in scale, a perfect stranger on the other side of the globe might become enough of a legend to have an effect on our lives. Well, it's not always that way. Like I said at the beginning, the links between people basically aren't that relevant in the grand scheme of things. Whether some household nearby is having steak or croquettes doesn't matter to me. When I put my shoes on, it doesn't matter to anybody whether I put the right one on first or the left. This much the average person can understand. But actually, in reality, this is the truth. The bonds between people are quite well defined. It's not just a matter of distance, of being far or near. For example, let's say that person A's actions have some effect on me. Even then, person B's actions could have absolutely no consequence on my life. The reverse also holds true. Just because my actions affect person A, that doesn't always mean that they affect person B as well. Let's put it bluntly. If the bonds between people are like gears in a machine, the gear that represents me meshes with some people but is isolated from others. There are some who would try arguing against this. Those people would bring up examples of gears in a clock. Each gear indeed only directly meshes with one or two others. However, if you rotate one gear, the one next to it is moved, which connects to the next one and the next. In the end, all the gears are moving. There is a logic behind this, more than enough to convince the average person. Why is the argument convincing? The answer is simple. The relationships between people are ambiguous and can only be described conceptually. How the gears are connected and how their movements are chained together can't be used as a fundamental explanation, so it throws a wet blanket on that argument. So for the people who like that explanation, I'll use the example of a clock again to refute it. First of all, to say that this world is a singular clock would be wrong. That is, there isn't only one clock. There exist many clocks in this world, each counting their own time. If you think about it, the idea that this world is just one big clock is the height of arrogance. Even if you use the analogy of gears to explain human relationships, then you should be able to explain it using an analogy of multiple clocks unrelated to a single gear. Neighbors A and B. A is a gear in the same clock as me, so it's best to remain civil. B is a gear in a different clock, so it doesn't really matter to me at all. That's the kind of clear distinction I'm talking about. You want me to say I'm being fallacious? Let's change the analogy to something more familiar so you can understand. You've probably heard the phrase, a fire on the opposite shore sometime in your life, no? For example, if your neighbor's house was on fire, you'd probably try and help put it out, wouldn't you? It'd be awful if the fire spread and burned down your own house, after all. But what if that fire was in a town on the opposite side of a river? Would you still go out of your way to help? You wouldn't, would you? Even though it would be the wrong thing to do, there's no way the fire could spread to your own house. Even if it turned into a huge conflagration, there's no relation between the houses that will spread fire to yours and those that won't. Hey, Deadbeat is playing Brotato. That's a game name, apparently. With this basic example, you should be able to see the difference between gears that are or aren't related to your own. Having said that, there's still a lot to think about, even without a river to divide it. After all, it's not a spatial problem like being on the other side of a river, is it? Why was there a blood stain in the thumbnail? Is it referring to, yeah, the construction worker getting killed? Could be. The chick in the trunk. Oh, is this, what's her name? Not Makoto. Takano. The car had stopped. But he didn't know any more than that. For not only was he blindfolded, but locked in the trunk of the car. How could people become this powerless just by being robbed of their sight? He absolutely wouldn't have known this without experiencing it firsthand. He soon realized it was pointless to try and undo his bonds, with the confines of the trunk quickly making him lightheaded. He had no choice but to let this mild torture dull his senses. That's why, when the car stopped and the unpleasant vibration ceased as the engine was killed, he couldn't help but delude himself into thinking that he was being set free, even though nothing had been resolved in reality. Of course, he was soon removed from that delusion. He strained his ears when he heard one of the men who had abducted him, and an older man he was hearing for the first time, strike up a conversation.
お疲れさんです。ヒナはトランクに。騒ぎすぎで多少衰弱してるようですが、ご命令通り傷一つつ
Yep,
け
it's the
ちゃいません。
grandson, certainly.
おう、手間はかけましたの。
The trunk opened, letting in a blast of fresh, cool air. Even though up until now he had been thinking about getting out of that stuffy trunk, but when it was actually opened, he suddenly became uneasy. Enough so that he wished that the lid of the trunk would once again close, separating himself from them. Suddenly, somebody stroked his head. Of course, since he was blindfolded, he couldn't tell if the hand was petting him or simply evaluating how easy it would be to remove his scalp. Unable to tell the difference, he could only freeze as he imagined the worst-case scenario.
すったらん。愛そうにの。震えとんね。
Is this kid Napper?
おとなしくしばらく過ごすがよかろ
The older man said that kindly as he gently stroked the boy's head.
う。ほんに辛い思いしちゃろな。だがな。おんめのおじいちゃんは優しい人だんね。すぐに助けてくれるだろうの。
Having heard nothing but the average standard dialect his whole life, the older man's distinct intonation left a deep impression on the boy. But he had no idea what he was saying. For your gramps to register as meaning your grandfather took a while to process. Eventually, the hand that was stroking his head loosened the blindfold.
目隠しはまずいっすよ。面が割れると後々まずいです。
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it's not kidnapper, it's man.
あそう
It's
かな。
man!
なんら、せめて猿靴はくらい外したらんな。
Will we get to see the
これ
kidnapper?
ぎゃ、息もできんね。
叫ばれたらまずいです。こいつのことは俺たちに任せてください。
たく、気の利かんやっちゃらな。本家にむごい仕打ちは
Yep, it was,
すんにやっちゃっとる。
They are working for the Sonozakis.
そこんとこ、肝に刻むんよ。
分かってます。手荒な真似はしませんよ。小僧が おとなしくしててくれる分にはね。
The man's hand prodded roughly and repeatedly at the boy's head. A rugged man, unlike the affectionate one that had been stroking his head before. Just stay cooperative. If you struggle, there's no guarantee what will happen. That cliched threat was literally beaten into his head. Okay, at least they don't want to just, like, up and kill him right away. I guess that's nice. Thank goodness for small favors. That's the Yakuza speak, apparently. Alright. Wow, no choices. That's a little disappointing. Well, honestly, I think I'm going to end the stream there. We're just about at the 2-hour mark, and there's no telling when we're going to get the next to be continued. So, I think this is a good time to stop. I will not be streaming for the remainder of this week, so Friday and Sunday, no streams. My next one will be on Wednesday, a week from now, and we'll be continuing Higurashi Chapter 4. So that'll be interesting. It's supposed to be around like 5 hours long, so I definitely think we can finish it in just a couple streams this length. Yeah, thanks for joining in and chatting, everybody. I wish you guys a great rest of your night, and God bless everyone.